Hi, in this tutorial, I am going to show you a couple of things. First will be how to use this digital assessment notebook template that I have created. This is available in the description. There is a link to my Teachers Pay Teachers store, and currently this resource is free, so I invite you to check it out. I can't promise that that will always be true, but it is for right now. As of the recording, this is summer 2021. I'm also going to teach you how to make your own if you would like to have kind of start from scratch and just fully customize. And if you're kind of crafty and comfortable with all of these Google files, you might want to make your own anyway. Okay, so first is this is a basic Google slideshow. And what I created here is a basic template that once your school year begins and you have your classes and your schedule and your students, you can fill it in and customize it to meet your needs. This is, of course, the cover. I already have created the tabs and I've hyperlinked those tabs to the slides. Let me show you that. So from the home page, I can click into each class from the tab because I've linked those shapes to slides in this presentation. So that's what creates kind of what I'm calling the digital assessment notebook or the hyperlink home base. Each of these tabs links to a slide. Each of these slides will be a class. So once I have my schedule, I'll put in the class period and I will take the names of all the students in that class and I will enter them last name alphabetically, starting 1, 2, 3, etc., all the way to the end. This table has, I believe, 30 squares. So if you have more than 30 students, you can control click to insert another row, or you could also control click to delete a row depending on how many students are in your class. And then of course you can resize from there. I'm a huge fan of color coding, so you'll see that each of my periods has their tab and their slide correspond in color. So this I call the digital assessment notebook, which is really just a home base. I'm also calling it a hyperlink home base because one of the things that I learned when I was trying to track my students' work last year without using points was that I really need to see a student's entire body of work for the quarter. Like I need to see a student's work. I don't want to see a grade book where I have to be clicking 100 different things to see it. I need it all out in front of me. And I started with a real notebook, which I kind of liked, but ultimately I think the digital one is much more efficient because of the copying and pasting that you can do. So this is basically the home base, as I said before. And what will happen once all your students' names are in is you will need to create or use this one if you want to get this resource and share this with your students. What I will be doing probably the second week of school, once we're kind of settled in, is I will post this document as an assignment in Google Classroom, and I will make a copy for each student. And that will do a couple of things. One, it makes duplicating this super easy and fast. Number two, it gives both my students and myself editing access to this document. That might feel a little bit scary for some of you, but I find overall that will save time. And if you'd like to learn more about that, I suggest reading the blog post that goes along with this video. That is also linked in the description. So I teach English. What I have done is I've already thought about the kind of categories of work my students will be doing. They will be reading, writing. We will be kind of focusing on language, which is of course an aspect of writing, but I want to pull it out and make it its own kind of target, and then speaking and listening, which will kind of correspond to classroom contributions and that sort of thing. So in this document, this is sort of like the grade book for each student. And what I like about it is that since it's just a Google Doc, I can fully customize it. I have labeled it quarter one. I labeled my category. I really like the outline view because then you can just click into very easily where each of these are, so you don't have to spend so much time scrolling. That's really going to be helpful when we're in quarter 4 and we want to be able to go back and look at other quarters, or we don't want to have to do as much scrolling. So I do recommend the outline view, which you can get here, just show document outline. I don't want to spend too much time on how I created this because I want you to be able to customize it yourself, but the idea behind it was that I wanted to be able to keep track of all the students' work in one place. And so one of the things we do is independent reading. Every week, my students will have to write down the date for a particular week. They will write down how many hours they spent reading that week, and they will write down the titles of the books they read and any goals they had for that book. Up here, the general goals. These might be kind of broader goals relating to how much time they spend reading, making more time for reading each day, reading consistently, reading new genres that kind of apply to any title. And then in this box, it's specific to a goal for that book. And then here's a space for them to write about any progress they made toward achieving that goal. And they are going to be entering that information into this document themselves. And then I can go back and look at it and take what I need and put it into our school's learning management system so that parents, namely, can see that information. For all of my other categories, I want to be able to link their work and to be able to indicate where they are in meeting standards. This is why I decided to go with a digital gradebook, because I wanted to very quickly be able to see whatever the assignment was that students are working on. So I want to show you briefly how this works. Let's just say that students are working on a research draft. And what I will have them do, this is an example of research draft, what I will have them do every time they write something is, or they have an assignment, I will have them link that to their document. So I just copied the link. You want to make sure that when you're giving students instructions, you tell them to make sure they have the link so that you as a teacher can view it. They could share it with you separately, but I want to make sure they put the link in here, because what I do when I open this document, whether I'm conferencing or giving feedback or just kind of reviewing their work, I want all the links here so I can quickly see it. I don't have to go find it somewhere else. So then I'm going to click the insert link button. I'm going to paste it. And there I have, now I have the file right there, and I can go back and see it really quickly and easily. And I'm going to have them do that kind of all year for all of their assignments for which there is a product that they've created, whether it's a doc or some kind of PDF. They're going to have to hyperlink everything. I also talk in the blog post about some of the things I'll be doing to make sure students know that it is unacceptable for them to edit anything that I haven't explicitly given them permission to edit. So let's say I write here that their research draft is proficient, they can't touch that. If I tell them what to do next, they can't touch that. If I make a suggestion for a resource, they can't touch that. Just a note on this, I included this column because very often when I'm giving students feedback on their work, I like to tell them other places they can go, because this is part of what we're trying to create in our students, right? Is sort of independent readers, writers, thinkers, etc. And so I might say to them, hey, check out this mentor text, or maybe you should take a look at this video, or it seems like you're still struggling with writing complete sentences. So I really want you to watch this video and, show me that you've applied that to this piece. So I like to have a place where I can keep a record of that. I don't always suggest a resource, but I wanted a spot where I could do it. It also kind of reminds me when I'm giving them feedback that, oh yeah, I should suggest resources whenever I can. So that is the student document. And as the year progresses, this will become incredibly long and full of data. But I think it's much richer than a traditional gradebook, because you have your comments, you have things maybe that the students are writing, and you have links to all of their work, and you can get it all really easily in one place. As the quarters progress, it becomes really easy to add to this. So what I intend to do is just to copy all of this as long as I end up not changing anything. Pasting it, and then just renaming it. I would put the most recent quarter on top so I don't have to do a lot of crazy scrolling. But now if I want to see quarter one, I can go back and find it really easily. And then you can, of course, delete when you do the quarter two stuff, you can delete all the specific content that's in the tables. I'm just going to go back and get rid of that for now. So that is the kind of this is really the student assessment document, and that gets linked back here. So how do we do that? That's super easy. This is going to be a little bit of time investment for you, but this is definitely one of those waste time now to save time later kind of moves. Once you have created the assignment in Google Classroom, you're going to go into the Google Classroom folder that has all those assignments, and you are going to one by one share the link. It doesn't really matter what the permissions are because this document is for you and the student and you just need it for you. So you're going to copy the link. You're going to go back here where the student's name is. The name will be filled out, and you're going to insert that document. I am going to change the color, although probably when I actually do this for myself, I'll put all of them in and change all the colors together. Like I'll select all and then change the font, because it's easier that way. But now, once this is all filled out, I can go in, if I'm having a conference with a student, I can get ready for that conference by finding his or her file, opening it, clicking down to the area that we're working on, possibly even opening that file and getting ready. And I do that kind of one, almost like nesting dolls of hyperlinks, which I find much less overwhelming than going into Google Classroom, where I often get distracted by other things. I forget what I'm looking for. I find this to be a lot easier to use. So then the next thing I want to show you is how to create one of these from scratch if you're not interested in using mine. The doc stuff is pretty easy. The doc stuff, you're just going to create a doc, you're going to insert tables, you can decide how many columns you want, you can add or delete as needed. The part that's, it's not really tricky, but I had to Google how to do this, is to create the hyperlink slideshow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert 5 more blank slides, 1 for each of my classes. We're assuming that I have 5 classes. This is kind of my cover page, which I can decorate later. I want to go through each of these and say which classes they are so that you can see how this works. We'll call this period 1. This one will be period 2. Period 3. Period 4. Whoops, and that's my cover page. That was a little blip. Period 5. And then I go back to the actual cover page and write cover page. So when you have kind of your page labels, which you don't have to do first, I just did so I can make it easier to show you, you want to create the tabs that you're going to hyperlink. So we're going to insert a shape, and the one that looks like a binder tab is this little guy. So we're going to make one of those. It doesn't really matter how big you make it right now because we're going to resize them later. I'm going to put that over here. If you want to change the color right away, you can. It kind of makes it easier to see which tab is which. And then you're going to copy it and paste. Just going to go right down the rainbow. And I'm going to create 5 of these. And now I have a little bit of space left. Here's a cool trick that I learned. Select all the shapes. Then you, by holding Control, you select them all. You grab this, pull it down, and it resizes all of them. Voila! Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to link each of these tabs to one of the slides in my slideshow. And I'm going to do that before I type in the text, just because I want to make sure that I'm linking the tab and not the text. That will make things easier later. So I select the shape, I select the link, and I'm just going to link to slides in this presentation. I want slide 2 because that's going to be my first class. The next one is going to be linked to slide 3. And make sure you do the slide numbers, not the next slide, because it becomes much harder. It becomes more work later if you don't do it by the number. So this third one is actually going to be slide 4, and so on and so forth. My last little friend here is slide number 6. So now all of those are linked. Now I'm going to just label each period. I'm going to rotate it sideways. I'm going to drag it over. I'm going to copy it. You can fast forward this part if you know what you're doing. Okay. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to select all of it. I'm going to Command copy, and I'm going to put this on each slide so that when I'm in this notebook, I can easily navigate. And so let's take a look at what that looks like. This is my cover page. I want to go to period 1. Now I'm on period 1. From period 1, I can go to period 3, or I can go to period 2. I can go anywhere I want because I've linked these tabs to the slide number. That's why I wanted to make sure I did that. So that's really it as far as the more challenging part goes. And then, of course, you can set up this in any way you want. You can decorate it however you want. You can insert however many of these you need for your however many students you have. You can resize it, change the colors, whatever you want to do. But that's how you set up your own digital notebook if you want to make your own. All right, I hope you found something here helpful. If you have questions, I recommend maybe leaving a comment on the blog post. You could leave a comment here, although I'm more likely to see the blog post because I get those notifications right away. Thanks for watching.